That's
It
amazing.
amazes me how when you stop thinking about what people can do for you and how much is coming in versus what you can do for other people,
Yeah.
how much ends up coming in. I mean, it's a law of the
fivefold,
universe or
tenfold,
something.
yeah.
It's amazing how that happens. But
I heard that the most selfish thing you can do is to be selfless,
Yeah.
because it will come back to you in so many more ways than if you just take for yourself
Well,
all the
like,
time.
It's like relationships, right?
hello again, everyone. We're here with Hey Pops Financial. I'm Pops, Larry Bates. This is my son, Mitch.
Not Pops.
He's the unpopped.
What does that even mean?
I guess that means he's an old maid. No, that's not right either. Anyway, we're Hey Pops Financial, and we're glad to have you here. As crazy as we are, we hope to have a good time. And today we're welcoming a good friend of mine, Thiel Ruperto.
How's it?
Thiel is a financial advisor, and he's going to talk with us about what financial advisors are, what they do, how to choose one, why have a financial advisor, all of those things. And as always, if you have questions about this topic or comments, feel free to write them in and send them to us. We'd love to have them. We'll have Thiel, I'm associated with him on a couple of different levels, and so we always have him available to answer those kinds of questions, and we'd love to have him on again. Certainly, we enjoy you watching these videos and liking them, subscribing, sharing them with your friends, and all of that, young kids social media stuff. You like my hands.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are glad to have you here. So we're going to start. Thiel, would you introduce yourself and just in a couple of minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your family, what your background is, and how you got into being a financial advisor, because that's not what you went to school for.
No,
So
not even close.
kind of how you ended up there.
Yeah, actually, when I was born, I actually wanted to be a financial advisor.
Yeah, I'll bet
That's
you
how
just
it works.
Just came out
Came out of the
like
womb.
It's like, hey, I want to be a financial advisor.
calculator.
No, growing up as a Filipino family, pretty much, I was expected to be an engineer or a doctor.
Oh, is that is that the kind of the
Yeah.
cultural expectation?
Yeah. So, and a lot of pressure on there. So in college, my major was molecular biology. That's what I graduated with.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then I went to I audited one day of med school. And I said, no, I'm not going to do this.
That's not me.
It's not me for another 6 years, 8 years.
No,
I don't know how long it
thank you.
takes.
Yeah.
And so then I worked as a biologist right after college at a biotech company. It was fun. Guess how much I was making though with a college degree?
Probably not very much.
$12.43 an hour.
Oh, gee.
I still remember.
Yeah.
You make more from the grocery store.
And then so I worked for a year, and I decided I wanted to go the chemistry route. So I was a chemist for about 2 years.
Walter White.
Yeah. How did you know? But yeah, so I decided to do chemistry. That was fun for a couple of years, and I didn't want to work in a lab anymore. And I've always had interest in technology. So that's how I got into being a senior network engineer.
Okay.
Was that route. I'm mostly self-taught. I took a couple classes to get certifications, and that's about it.
Okay.
But then fast forward 2000, my parents introduced me to this world, the financial service industry. And they
They
said, hey,
introduced you to this world in more ways than one.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, there you go.
So they said, hey, you want to check out what we're doing, right? You want to learn this industry? I'm like, hey, why not?
Are they in the Philippines?
They're here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Were you born in the Philippines or?
I was born in the Philippines, and we moved here when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
So a long time ago. Yeah, it was funny.
25 years ago.
Yeah, and yeah, it's only 25 years ago. It's funny because when talking about immigrating here, right? My parents only had $500 in their pocket when we moved here.
Dang.
Wow.
With 4 kids in tow.
My goodness.
I wouldn't be able to do that now. It's
Yeah.
Are
crazy.
you kidding me? Jeez.
Yeah.
Talk about a leap of faith.
Yeah, but what's crazy is did fine, I guess, right? We're all doing really well, the kids. But it was just hard thinking about what they went through, the sacrifice they went through to come here. And so they asked me, hey, you want to do what we're doing? I'm like, I can't even balance my checkbook. Sure, right? I'm a science person, technology and science. I don't need it. I was kidding. And then so I started learning it part-time. So I was part-time advisor from 2002 to 2015.
Okay, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, because I wanted to learn to see if that's the industry I want to get to. But then my son was born in 2015, and that's when I decided to fire my boss. So I said, hey, this is not working out. I gotta let you go. And he was a friend of mine, so it was okay.
It's a good way to put
He
it.
was surprised though, because what was my last job? Oh yeah, I was a consulting systems engineer, so which means it's like a pre-sales engineer, and you make good money doing it. And all you do is present and pretty much take your clients out to lunch and dinners. That's about it.
Yeah.
Rough job.
I know. If I wasn't in this industry, I'd probably still be in that industry right now,
Okay.
just because I love technology still. So I like to use it into my financial planning as well. So
Good.
I do all that stuff. That's pretty much how I got into financial services.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't with a big company before, and I realized that I wasn't learning enough. They were very transactional, like most those industry, right? The industry,
Yeah.
bigger companies. All they focus on is where's the money coming from. I want my AUM, right? My assets under management, because these big companies are making what 1 to 2%. Imagine that of 1 to 2% of billions of dollars they have.
Oh, well, yeah. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. And so they're not going to rock the boat, right? They want to keep that money coming in. That's why a lot of them, they don't like advising different products that actually they don't get paid on or they only get paid once on. They want this revenue,
Residual
right?
income.
Because I heard, yeah, either you have an annuity or you're someone else's annuity. That's what you think about, right? Because you pay, that's your lifetime income and stuff like that. And so then I kind of got jaded around 2017. 2017, 18, and when I realized, hey,
Because of the way these companies were run. And
yeah, I went to a number of training events, and they would train on how to acquire more assets instead of teaching you how to actually grow your clients' money.
Interesting.
or take care of your clients and treat them well.
I heard someone say it's the hunting versus farming mentality.
Yeah, this is one example that stuck out to me. It's like, hey, if you had $1 million under management, we'll say the market tanks, you're at 50%. Here, just get another 500,000. Your income's going to be the same.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
what
matter about
happens
your
to
clients. It's hey,
to the client.
you're fine, but they're not. But that's okay.
Oh, gosh, what a
Yeah, that's a very different mindset than
Yeah,
I think is positive. So
yeah. That's why I was thinking about going back to the technology world at that point. I'm like, this is stupid, right? I want to help my clients, but I'm not getting the tools to do so.
yeah.
because you don't have the support from above you.
Yeah, it's all about transaction. Oh, that's fine.
So what did you do at that point? Did you
I didn't do business for about 6 months.
okay?
And basically then I found this other company I was introduced to. I was like, okay, this is cool. They actually care about their clients. This is weird. I've been in this industry for so long.
Which is so sad that is what's weird.
It was very weird. And then suddenly I met more people. That's where I met Jason and Blake actually.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Was-
Yeah,
was through that.
There was Stronghold Wealth Advisors,
Yep.
they're great.
And
a terrific organization. That's a group basically of independent financial advisors like yourself, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I met him at we call our practice company. So we met him there, and then that's when Jason and Blake, after a couple of years, decided to go on their own, and then I followed them to Stronghold, and it's been great. I mean, when your training is based on what you can do for clients and how much money you make, it's so different than all your training is talking about how much money you make.
Yeah.
I'm not saying money is bad. It's just in our industry, you have to think of the clients
approach
first.
is different.
Yeah.
Though. Very different.
How much better have you been financially focusing more on the client versus just what you're making? Because you obviously make money,
Yeah.
but how much better has it been having that reverse approach?
Good question. Someone asked me this the other day, actually. It's true. When I was working with that company, I didn't, it was very transactional. So I was making a lot. Part-time, I was making about 70, 80,000 part-time.
Okay.
But when I went full-time, I went to about 90, 100, right? So it was great.
Making good money.
And I'm not working 40 hours a week. Okay? I'm making about 20, 25 hours a week and making that much money. So
Yeah,
it's not
that's
bad.
great.
And then what happened is when I transitioned to actually client first, you want to work harder, right? You want to work more because you know you're making a difference now.
Ooh,
And I
the
pretty
fulfillment.
much, yeah,
Interesting.
I pretty much doubled my income in a span of like 1 year,
Gosh dang.
just by doing the right thing. That tells you when people tell you, "Hey, keep doing this," don't listen. What you need to focus on and providing value to someone, and you'll make as much money as you want. That's pretty much how it works.
That's
It
amazing.
amazes me how when you stop thinking about what people can do for you and how much is coming in versus what you can do for other people,
Yeah.
how much ends up coming in. I mean, it's a law of the
fivefold,
universe or
tenfold,
something.
yeah.
It's amazing how that happens. But
The
it
most
also,
selfish. I heard. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. Or I guess I did technically mean to cut you off, but I'm sorry.
thank you.
At least you apologize.
Yeah.
I heard that the most selfish thing you can do is to be selfless, because it will come back to you in so many more ways than if you just take for yourself
Well,
all
it's
the
like,
time.
It's like relationships, right? It doesn't have to be a romantic, any kind of relationship. You know, the more you actually serve someone, it comes back to you as well. So, I mean, it's a lot of the universe, pretty much. So.
And you can sleep at night. That was my thing when I was kind of going through my career. It's like I wanna be successful, but I want to be able to sleep.
Yeah,
know?
I don't understand how some people can sleep at night. Because I've learned a lot of things after I left that other company. I'm like, how can they even get away with that? And it's illegal, and plus, how did he get away with it?
It's unethical,
I was like,
whether it's
seriously?
legal or not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
I-
so
Well,
Back
and
to what you're
I
saying.
was going to say, Thiel, I appreciate that background. And Stronghold Wealth Advisors, I've known them for almost 2 years now. Great organization and a very different mindset, like you said, than a typical financial advisor. And so I highly recommend them for financial advising.
mm-hmm.
You have, over this last year, also gone to work for a company that I'm familiar with, Hedgehog Investments.
Yeah.
One of my sons, Matthew, and his partner started this company, and they raised money for an investment that they are involved with. But you've been very successful there as well, and you're currently COO of that company, and so
Yes.
you're kind of working two different companies now, two different
yeah.
jobs.
I'm used to working a lot of different jobs.
And that's not a bad thing. One of our pillars of financial independence is entrepreneurship and side hustles, and it's very beneficial actually to have more than one income stream. You never know when something's going to happen to one of those. It's going to get cut back or it's going to disappear altogether, and it's nice to have
Definitely.
other things to rely on. But Hedgehog has been benefited greatly by your presence there, I know,
Yeah.
and
Appreciate
vice
it.
versa. So anyway, let's talk about financial advisors.
Okay.
First of all, and of course, obviously you're speaking from the aspect of an independent advisor now, but you've been in this world enough to have experienced a lot of different avenues of financial advising. What are the different kinds of financial advisors that are out there, and what are the pros and cons of one versus the other?
Well, you got your industry financial advisors, right? The big
Okay.
companies.
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty much what I found with them, because it's pretty funny, is because a lot of clients I came across that have those big advisors usually leave them. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but most of the time. Because if you don't have enough wealth, per se, they're not going to even give you the advice you would need. They're very selective, right? Most of them.
Because they want the assets under management so they get the residual revenue.
Yeah, some of them, unless you have, $1 million plus, $5 million plus, they're not
Don't
going
wanna
to
talk
talk
to
to you. They'll give you a junior person that just gives you cookie cutter advice. But they say it's custom advice, right? It's plug in the numbers. Oh, this is what it says.
The custom cookie cutter.
Jeez.
And yeah, that world, I mean, it's been around so long. So they're stuck in their ways already. So it's going to be impossible to get out of that. But their advice is usually the same thing, like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and whatnot, right?
Market-driven investments.
Market driven,
Which
right?
aren't necessarily bad, but there's so much more.
Yeah, I mean, like my current clients right now, they're well diversified, right? We have market investments, that's standard. We use alternative. Some of them use real estate as well. And some other products that we use, like life insurance products, all combined to make sure that when it's predictable what they're going to get, right, in terms of income when they do retire. And that's the hardest part, is thinking about, all right, I want to retire in 10 years. How much do I need? Most people say, I have no clue. And that's what actual independent advisor would do, especially at Stronghold. That's what we train on, right? Every Saturday we have training just on case design, case studies. How great is that? Where someone will bring in a case and everybody, like, we brainstorm and say, hey, this is what you should recommend, this, and this. This is how you shift the assets. And we never talk, like I told you, we never talk about, oh, how much money are you going to make from all these products? We don't care. is because you're doing the right thing for the clients.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Money will come.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, we make great money doing it. It's just, it's not our focus.
But that's not the
Right.
first thing that you think about.
That's
yeah.
right.
And industry, I mean, they're so limited as well because they want to make sure that what they recommend is for the company, like it's benefiting the company. It doesn't matter if it benefits the client or not, as long as it benefits the company first. Because the bottom line, they want to make the money to be able to pay these guys, right? And make their billions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
When you switch it to the other side, like independent advisor, if your focus is on client-centric, you're very product agnostic. You don't care what products you use or which provider you use.
Mm-hmm.
You use the one that fits for your client for what they need. And instead of pushing what you have, because if you're independent, you have access to almost everything, right? So you don't push for the only thing you have, like the people in the industry. Like, for example, if you're just a life insurance agent, what do you push for?
You sell life insurance.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a real estate agent, what do you push for?
Well, and I
Real estate.
grew up in the medical profession. I'm a physical therapist.
Yeah.
And the joke was always, what you need depends on who you go to see. You go see a surgeon,
You need surgery.
is the answer to your problem.
Yeah.
If you go to a physical therapist, physical therapy is the answer. Or a chiropractic is the answer.
So true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we get so honed in on our specialty, blinders on, if you will, that sometimes we don't see the big picture.
Creates that bias.
Yeah. That's the best thing. Recommendation is you have to see the big picture.
Yeah.
This is a great thing. I say financial advisors, the good ones, the independent, we're like your windshield of your car, right? It gives you clarity. If it could show you, clearly what you actually need to do in your financials, you can make better decisions for yourself because you know what you could see, right? That's why that's the most important part of your car is the windshield. If you want to see clearly, right? It helps you avoid, accidents
Right.
and hitting people. So if a financial advisor is good, they could provide the clarity that you need in order to make better decisions for you and your family. And when you do that, then you feel better about your decisions and you're not going to second guess yourself as well because you have the knowledge already to do that.
And you can go so much faster, so much further, so much faster.
Yeah.
So at what point do you, and I say at what point, based on sometimes, I guess, how much people have to invest, what their stage of life is, but at what point do you recommend somebody talk to someone like yourself about financial advice?
I think people should always go to a financial advisor, even if they're starting out, just to put the foundation in. It's just like when playing golf. They say take lessons first so you don't develop bad habits. Financial advisors are like the same way, right? It's like a golf
that's
coach.
a good point.
Yeah, even if you don't have a lot of assets, talk to one. You don't have to pay a lot of money. Some do it for free. So it depends on who you go to. Just get some basic advice because a lot of it is basic anyway when you're starting out, right?
Yeah.
Be consistent in putting money away. What risk tolerance do you have? All this other stuff that comes around with it, and you could do that on yourself once you have this advice. And what I've seen right now with all this, social media and everything else, there's so much information out there. An advisor will actually help you understand what the information, how it fits to you.
Kind of sift through all the stuff that's there to get what's pertinent.
Because you have one person saying this is bad, another person saying this is good.
That's true.
So who do you believe? And they're both, you look at them, people follow these two. They must know what they're talking about, but they're conflicting. You have to peel back the layers on that. But an advisor will say, hey, this doesn't fit what you're trying to do. It's great if you have this. It's great if you have this. That would fit for you. Right now, it doesn't fit where we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it doesn't really matter how old a person is, how close to retirement, how much they have saved, whatever.
yeah,
You're saying any time's a good time to talk to a financial advisor.
I would advise. I wish someone talked to me when I was a lot younger.
Well, exactly. And I know I've gone through the institutional kind of advisors before and fired them because I don't, over time I don't like what they're telling me because it doesn't work.
I didn't start really putting money away, investing until I was 30.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, gosh, man, I wish I would have started when I was 20 instead.
Imagine if you did you have 10 years.
Oh my
ahead.
gosh, it would have been night and day different.
And I just had an interesting conversation with a friend. He had looked at one of our podcasts at Hey Pops and called me and said, Larry, what do I've got just a little bit of money saved. I don't really know what to do to start really saving now. What do you recommend? And
I get that question a lot.
yeah, and for one, I recommended that he talk to somebody like yourself. But the other thing is, it was interesting. It was rewarding to me to see that there are people out there that even, and he's not, I don't think he's 30 yet, but at a young age is already thinking about, what's going to happen when I retire. I remember a day when I wanted to retire at 49.
Yeah.
I don't know why 49, but
Magic number.
yeah. And maybe I'll retire when I hit 49 for the second time. I don't know, but and retire has taken on a different meaning for a lot of people anyway, because a lot of times we have a soft retirement where we don't just go home and sit in front of the TV, which isn't healthy. But but it's good to have somebody like yourself that's trained to prepare for that, and it's never too early to start.
No, it's never too early, or never too late either. I have a client right now where pretty much we broke down all her numbers, her and her husband, and they're in their 60s. They will retire in a few years, and I had to give them the bad news. If they want to have the lifestyle they require, they need to work another 10, just because they didn't have enough assets. I hate having that conversation, but you have to have it, right?
You do.
So it's realistic for them. It's not, you're not sugarcoating anything, so they can prepare for it. Instead of me saying, "Oh well, you could do this, or you win the lottery," right? Kind of thing. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, don't count on that.
And I had another client, actually my cousin, where she was so stressed out about retirement, she didn't know she had retired, that they never spend money. So basically, we did a full plan for her, broke down her numbers, kind of shifted some assets around. I'm like, you could retire in 10 years. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And I showed her the numbers. She's like, great. So next day, she booked her and family a vacation to Hawaii, because she felt better that she's not stressed out anymore, that she's doing the right thing. But she's putting a lot of money away already, so
she can enjoy some of it.
Yeah. So
that brings up a point that I think you and I have actually talked about a little bit, but there used to be, or still is out there, a 4% rule. Some people now say, no, it should be 8%. No, it should be 3%. No, it should, whatever. And there's all,
yeah.
Everybody has a different opinion about that. But tell me what that means and what your recommendations are. What's the 4% rule?
So the 4% rule was, I think some guy invented it, I believe, in the 60s, late 60s.
Okay.
Remember, at that time, bond markets were at 6 to 8%, I believe, around that area. Now they're like 3 to 4. So I haven't checked it in a while, but I think it's around there. So basically what that says, if you're investing in the stock market, right, you have mutual funds and whatnot, you could safely take out 4% of your assets every year and still have enough for at least 30 to 35 years. So if you had $1 million,
typical retirement span, right?
Correct.
30, 35 years.
So if you had $1 million at 4% rule, you could safely take out $40,000
a year.
If you take out more, then you have a good chance of running out of money, before your retirement, before the end, right?
Yeah.
So I had one client that we did all the numbers, and their current advisor said, "Oh yeah, just take," it was I think 6% out or something crazy. So I showed him the numbers. I'm like, "You'll run out of money in 15 years." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's
Not
like,
good.
I'm like, I can't predict the future in terms of what the stock's going to do, but I did the averages over a period of time, the last 20 years, and this is what it's going to look like. I'm like, you can't take that much out. And he was fighting me on it. I'm like, okay, it's up to you, but this is what the numbers say.
Yeah, talk to me in 15 years.
Yeah. But, he eventually realized it. I'm like, it's actually not the 4% rule anymore. It's the 3%, because I said, the bonds are down and everything else. And realistically, it's about the 3% rule.
Okay.
So does it ultimately depend on what your returns are annually?
Yeah, and how you diversify.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could take more out if you get better returns on whatever investments you have?
Yeah, if you, for example, if your investment did, we'll say 15% that year, right? Yeah, it's safe to take out more than 4%, maybe 5%, 6%. But then you need that difference to actually make up for the negative sides down the line as well.
Right.
That's why you have to, because what you're planning for is the ups and downs of the market, right?
Right.
That's why this is, I forgot his name now. He called it a volatility shield. Basically, it means that when you do have stock market that you're depending on for your income or retirement,
which frankly is what most people have.
Yep.
That's historically the most common investment tool.
Correct. He said you need another account that's not affected by the market. So what happens is, for example, this year your money is down. Are you going to take out that 4% next year when you're down 10% this year? Now you're down 14%. Does that make sense?
And it takes even longer to recover.
So he said, if you have another account, then you take the money out of that account for that year because it's not affected by a market.
That's in a different investment.
Until your money actually catches up or what you were doing.
Interesting.
So actually, Hedgehog is a good volatility shield if you think about it, right?
It really is.
So you could take, because basically it's a fixed rate. So pretty much,
And,
you
and
know
Hedgehog, we've talked about it before a little bit, but it's a private lending opportunity.
Yep.
Promissory notes are used, so you know exactly what you're going to have at the end going in.
Yep.
So it's
Not tied to the market.
Tied to the market.
I personally, I mean, I have some of my money in there as well. I like the predictability of it. It's like at the end of the year, my money has made this much. I know what to expect, and we'll make sure we put a link to hedgehoginvestments.com in the description so you guys can go and kind of look at more of it.
Yeah, just think about when you're planning for retirement, and you know what interest rate you're making on your money. How easier to plan.
Yep.
All right. And, you know, some people love annuities, some people hate annuities, but I don't care for, you know, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I mean, it is what it's a tool, right? I don't love tools. I just use them.
Right. Exactly.
And they work for some things and they don't work for others.
I mean, it's a perfect.
You don't pull a nail out with a circular saw.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have to have the right tool. So, that's
same with planning. You need the right tools for what you need. Right, you have to use all the ones that are available to you to be able to reach that goal you're looking for. If I want 10,000 net, you know, when I retire every month, I got to plan for that, like for taxes.
It's not going to just happen.
Inflation, all that stuff you have to plan for because 10,000 today in 20 years is worth 5,000. So
you know, Thiel, planning is, and I want to emphasize this to our listeners. Planning is so critical. I just read an article, and I forget the author, I apologize for that, but they asked people how much they felt like would be needed for a comfortable retirement. The average was just under 1.5 million, 1.4 or something. And then they followed that up with, so how much do you have for retirement?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was a dramatic difference.
I think average 401k is about 250,000 if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and so. It's way short of what people actually need. And so it's probably, you mentioned earlier that it's a difficult decision to have when you have to tell somebody you can't retire in 5 years, you're going to have to take 10 to retire where you want to be. It's frightening how many people are underprepared for the retirement that they'd really like.
Yeah, and they're depending on Social Security as well. And people don't understand your Social Security can be taxed up. 85% of it can be taxed.
Yep.
Depending on how much provisional income you're earning, right?
And what state you're in. States tax some do and some
don't. Or
don't.
what could change by the time you actually get to that point. Or it's like there's so many different.
If the system's insolvent or
whatever.
2033, right?
And I know Trump, he's the president-elect right now, has been talking about eliminating tax on Social Security benefits altogether. We don't know what's going to happen with all of that, but it
used to be tax-free, remember?
As each regime change happens,
yeah,
not only the rules regarding Social Security and other retirements change, but other tax rates change, other things change that dramatically change your retirability.
Yeah.
So again, underscores the importance of having someone like yourself that keeps up on those things, so that
correct.
When I hear about something on the internet that contemplated, I can say, call up my Thiel and say, hey, how's this going to affect my retirement?
Well, because and actually that brings up a good point, because we're not really political on this channel at all, really, because I mean, I feel like one of the quotes I heard was, "What happens in your house is more important than what happens in the White House," which I think
100%.
which is so great. So how much does money actually care about your political affiliation? I'll put it that way. Like how much does the change in regime, like Pops is saying here, affects
your personal money? So outside, the two sides are telling you one thing or another, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't affect as much as people think it will. In terms of putting money away, what's going to happen. Yeah, maybe you have a little less, maybe a little bit more, but it's not going to change dramatically from my point of view. Okay, I could be wrong. From how I look at things, and so so this new the new regime coming in, I'm like, especially to extend the tax cuts. Now, in the planning side, it's great for my clients that want to do Roth conversions, right?
Yeah.
From IRAs to Roth, because now they can keep under their tax bracket, which is a lot less. Because right now we're trying to keep everybody at 24% because the next jump is 32%.
Ooh,
So if you could convert a lot of money that goes up to the income limitations for that bracket, even better, right? Because you're paying taxes now, which you know what they are, versus in the future when we don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of Roth conversions that way, the back door. And Congress have been trying to kill that, but it's not. I don't think it's ever going to happen, just because a lot of them take advantage of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but if it benefits them, they'll never change it.
exactly. That's why I think that, like you said, it's not going to really affect you that much.
Okay, great.
I mean, the policies and stuff is going to affect certain things you do, but not the overall plan you're trying to get to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me switch directions a little bit, Thiel, and talk about alternative investments. You mentioned market-driven investments, and we talked about that seems to be, historically at least, that's the majority of investments that are out there.
Correct.
And I've heard people say, "Well, I've got my diversification plan in place because I own Google stock and
Apple, for example.
Apple.
Yeah.
That's my diversification." Or I own some mutual funds and some actual stocks, or I own international stocks and domestic stocks. But the stock market seems to drive the bulk of investment. But the last several years, it seems to me that there's been a significant shift, first towards real estate as an alternative, more recently towards private lending opportunities like Hedgehog, and that seems to be a real hot topic or buzzword in the last few years. Tell me what role alternative investments play in a good diversification plan, a good retirement plan.
Yeah, I mean, we call it alternative because alternative to the market, right? Because people
Right.
always ask me what does alternative mean. It means not the market. Okay.
Anything except the market.
Exact the market, yeah. So gold is an alternative investment, and,
Okay.
silver, any kind of precious metals. That's alternative because it's not the market. But in terms of the alternative, how it plays in people's financials right now, in terms of retiring, I think it should play a significant role. If you could, especially if you could find the right one, right, a good one that has good, history. Because there's a lot of ones popping up here and there, but you can't really
And they pop back out just
pretty
as quickly,
quickly,
don't they?
right? And so, if you have including real estate, right? People love real estate; it's very stable. It's an alternative investment. So I'm thinking about diversification. That's one of the things I talk about with my clients. I mean, like Hedgehog, the way they do things with the fixed rates and everything else. I love that type of alternative investment, right? Real estate's another one. Yeah, it could go up and down what you're going to get, but guess what? It's tangible property. If it's tangible property, you know that there's value to that, right?
Always going to be.
Yeah, you could hold it, right? It's my property. So if you want to have a good portfolio, yeah, you could be in the market. And if you're in the market, my recommendation, this is for me personally and my clients, I would like to recommend money managers that actually have good history of what they've done in the past. And you could see they have a good stop loss in place where the risk is not as much as being in the market. Yeah, you pay them more, but they're doing the job, right? Because imagine paying someone 1%, 2%, and they can't do the job. Might as well just put your money in an index account, just let it go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The low cost index, go to Vanguard and whatever, and just invest there. That's fine. That's a good alternative, right? But you're not going to have the maximum growth and safety you can with alternatives. That's just my personal. So
Great.
I personally have alternative investments, right? And it's funny thing, I sold my last investment property just 3 months ago,
Oh, awesome.
and took the equity and put it into Hedgehog.
Oh yeah.
So
Hey, one of the things I was just watching something. I was talking to Pops about it here. Tony Robbins wrote a book called The Holy Grail of Investing, which we'll put a link for that in the description. But he talks about having 7 or 8 different investments that are not affected by any of the markets that the other ones are in. So totally kind of like the volatility shield, like you're talking about. He's talking about having lots of them that are totally independent of the markets of the other one. That way you really are safe in what you're doing.
yeah, because diversification is so important. And,
Great.
And if you have non-correlated investments to the market, right, then obviously the market tanks. Yeah, it sucks that you're losing money, but at the same time, it's not going to affect you totally, right? Especially if it's just a percentage.
You plan for that.
Especially for my clients now closer to retirement or at retirement. If they want to still be in the market, the maximum I have them put is between 10 and 15% of their assets in the market. So
That
if something,
low.
That little.
Interesting.
especially now with the volatility that we're not sure about what's going to happen.
Crazy.
Right.
I'll probably go to 20%, depends on the client, but that's me personally. That's why I do, and my clients love me just because I look out for them, like most people should. And even when COVID happened and everything else, they were 20% of their assets, 15% was affected, but not anything else.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so they're like, "Hey Thiel, guess what? What? Thank you." That's what I said. Thank you for what? Well, I didn't lose a lot of money. I had one client where before the market, we didn't know what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
We took all his money from the market just before COVID, right before all this stuff started happening. So he took his money out, and then he's like, "Yeah, I would have lost like $300,000 if we didn't move that money."
Wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
So, but then
Well,
when the market went up, then he bought back in because not when it went up, but when he started the trend going up. So he
So
bought
he
in.
still benefited.
He
from
still
the
benefited from it.
upswing.
So
It's the volatility that bothers me, and I find that not only do I end up looking at the market every day, sometimes several times a day when I'm invested heavily in it, but when it's going up, I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna
like this.
yeah, I'm gonna live high on the hog, and then it drops, which it always does, and
You start sweating.
it's
Yeah.
and I can't sleep at night. So, and I'm at the age that I can't work my way out from underneath bad decisions now, like I could when I was younger. So I shy away from a lot of volatility as well. So
Yeah. Well, let's think about volatility, right? Let's say you had $100,000. The market went down 50%. How much do you have left? 50,000.
50,000,
Now, if you want to break even, how much do you have to make?
you got to make 100%.
100%. People don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
Because 50%, 100% of that's another 50,000 to break even is 100%, right? And people don't realize when you look at the numbers. Even if you lose 10%, you only need about 11% to break even.
Do you
See
know
the difference?
I know
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
had financial advisors that when the market goes down 50%, they say, sorry, your accounts only went down 40%, so your money ahead. But then when they recover, and they recover that 50%, they want you to think that you're at even,
But you made 40%.
and it's not the
50%?
case. I mean, numbers they skew numbers any way they want. But
Right.
one other question, and then we're getting near our time, and we're going to wrap up, and I'll give you a minute to kind of summarize things if you'd like. But tell me what a fiduciary is, and how important a fiduciary is to being a financial advisor.
So for me personally, I mean, the title itself, it's not as important as the experience of that advisor. The reason why I say that is I know people who are fiduciaries, but then their companies, the products they have is not very fiduciary when it comes to recommendations.
Emphasis on
But,
the
but
douche.
since that I passed my license, now I'm considered a fiduciary, even though I can't offer fiduciary things for my clients.
Interesting.
Because they want you to believe that being a fiduciary sets me above the run-of-the-mill advisor because I have your best interests in mind.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good that you're a fiduciary, but it's not what people think it is. In other words, right?
Okay.
I'm a fiduciary because I passed my license. I've been doing this for a long time and everything else. But I don't say that to my clients. Oh, I'm a fiduciary. Guess what? It's the way you treat your clients. That's why when people ask me,
Far more important.
how are you going to find an advisor? Well, look at their history of what they've done for their clients, right? Have them give you referrals of clients that's been with them for a while to show you exactly what they've done for you. And you could go one step further and say, hey, do you have an account that you want in the last 10 years? I want to see how you managed it and the results of that account. That's your money you're going to be putting with them when you better do your due diligence when
Yeah.
you do that.
Good point.
And that's why I always emphasize more of an experience and the success of an advisor versus having a fiduciary title.
Interesting.
Because anybody can pass their Series 65 license and be considered a fiduciary. Anybody can, right? But are you really a fiduciary? And I have people that are not fiduciary that actually act like fiduciaries for the clients. Like Stronghold, for example, we have a lot of agents who are not fiduciaries per se. But guess what? They do fiduciary things for their clients, which is putting the client's interest first versus their own, or versus best practices, right? It's more like what's the best for them and not what's suitable, right? Because that's a big difference between fiduciary and suitability, right?
Yeah.
Fiduciary is a little higher because you have to say what's the best for the client and not what's suitable for the client. Make big difference. It's very subtle, but if you don't, when you think about it, it's very different on your
Interesting.
approach on someone.
As we wrap up then,
Mm-hmm.
Thiel, is there anything else that you would advise our listeners about as they look for or consider a financial advisor? How to choose one, who to look for? You mentioned it already a little bit, but anything else that you'd like to say in summary about financial advisors?
I mean, I think financial advisors like anything out there, like any kind of career, right? Your golf coaches or anyone. You have good ones and you have bad ones. That's just the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
And finding the good ones is a challenge, because like you mentioned earlier, people can tweak the numbers and say, oh yeah, you could have a positive average with a negative return, right? You
Yep.
can. You can do the math on that. I can show you. And people don't realize averages is not what's cracked up to be. Annualized return is what you're looking for. The actual return of over time, right? Not the average.
So people need to do their due diligence, what
Yeah.
you're saying. They need to, and not be afraid to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
If an advisor acts like they're put out by the question you ask, it's probably a good indication it's not the advisor you want.
Pick a different advisor.
Yeah, and if an advisor tells you something's really is bad, and you ask them why, and they can't tell you,
Mm-hmm.
then they learned it from someone, but they still don't know the
Oh,
reason
because
why.
that's what I was
Yeah.
told.
Yeah,
It's because somebody else
you
told
have
them.
to know why you're not recommending something,
Yeah.
and why it's bad. Like the industry standard, it's like, I'm not going to mention names, but this big company, right, investment company, they have all these ads saying annuities, beware of annuities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, the reason why they do that is because they want their AUM. And even though this is good for the client, they don't care. They want all your money instead of just a portion of it, right? I know a lot of advisor companies like that, same investment advisor companies like that, and it just makes me think, dude, there's people just know, and they believe what they see on on TV, on
Unfortunately,
internet, everything, instead
without
of
doing any due diligence on it.
yeah,
Right.
on my soapbox right now, because a lot of people are lacking critical thinking skills.
Or too lazy to dig into it.
And I think
Yeah.
that's where due diligence comes in.
Correct.
You
Right.
can't be lazy about your money. Like, you have to
Yeah.
really think about it.
Yeah. And the last thought I have too is, just like anything else, you want a professional to help you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know how to put up drywall and everything else, but I'll hire someone to do it better,
Yeah,
right? And I could, because I've done that all,
they do it
when
every
I was
day.
yeah, they do it every day. They know how to do it more efficiently and better than you do.
And
Yeah.
faster. Yeah, that's right.
And so advisors are the same thing, right? The good ones anyway. When you find a good advisor, you could figure out, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the references said the same thing. So yeah, and I would always suggest to start small in the beginning, just like a portion of your assets, see what they can do with it, and then if they do better and better as years go, put more and more money with them.
Trust them more and more.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or use two advisors to see who does better.
Battle it out in the octagon.
Battle Royale right there.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Thiel, for your time. We sure
Of course,
appreciate
thank
you. And again, this is Thiel Ruperto. He's with Stronghold Advisors, which we'll put a link on, and with Hedgehog Investments, which we'll also put some information on, so you can contact them if you'd like more information directly. Again, thank you for listening. We hope that this has been beneficial for you and educational. It has been for me, and I appreciate that you take the time to join us and participate in this with us. Again, be sure that you like us. You don't need to love us, I guess. Just like us.
Just hit the like button.
Just the like.
Hit the like button. Subscribe. Share it with your friends. We like to get this information out because the bottom line is we just want to get financial literacy up as high as we can for ourselves, our families, and loved ones. So, again, thank you. We'll see you next time.
See ya.